101. Updating addresses and eliminating duplicates with mailers +4. Before we get started, let's just go over a few of the features and benefits of mailers +4. Our first feature is address check. The benefit for doing the address check is it increases your address quality in your database with our CAS certified engine. We also have duplicate check, which will help reduce waste by eliminating costly duplicates in your database. We also offer our Ncoa service, which processes and validates each name and address in your database, employing the United States Postal Service CAS certified address correction. We also have our geocoder, which provides users with the location information needed to make better decisions about market segmentation, sales clustering, logistics, risk exposure, and tax jurisdictions. Okay, let's go ahead and open up mailers +4. The first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and just run it through a basic address check. So let's go ahead and open up a database that we have. We'll go ahead and open up this one right here. This is a pretty standard database. It has a first name, last name, contact field, which is pretty much the first and last name put together on some lines. Then we also have the address, city, state, zip, and the +4. So the first thing you're going to do is once you open it up, the database, is you want to format the fields, which is telling the software what each field in the database is. On this database, for example, since it has common used names for the headers, all we'd have to do is hit auto format, and it'll format them for you. But if you don't have common names and you already know what it is, you could also just highlight that field and select down here which field it is. So we know that's company, and then so we have everything formatted, so we're ready to run address check. So let's go ahead and hit OK on this. Ways to get to address check. You could either right click and go to address check. You could click right here on address check, or you could go to list, address check, and then options. Some of the options we offer on address check is to skip previously coded records. We usually don't recommend this because the database gets updated monthly. Sometimes addresses are no longer valid, or they're vacant, or sometimes they just change the address completely. So you don't want to, you pretty much don't want to use this option. Use USPS, the United States Postal Service preferred city names. This is, for example, like for Rancho Santa Margarita. Well, RSM is an acceptable city name for Rancho Santa Margarita, but the United States Postal Service doesn't prefer that one, so they would rather have Rancho Santa Margarita in there as the city name rather than RSM, even though RSM is acceptable. The combined range and address field isn't used too often. This is used when you have your street number and the street name prefix and all the other information in a separate field. What this will do is it'll combine it all into one field. Address standardization. There's you could choose never, which is usually a bad idea. You want all the addresses to be standardized to the preferred method by the Postal Service. Only on coded records. This is the one that we recommend. Since we're able to validate the record, it's a lot easier for us to standardize it than it is if it's not validated. And the last option is always. This, no matter if we're able to validate the address or not, it'll try to standardize it. We also have our casing options. We choose auto, which it looks at the database field and determines how the casing is, and it keeps it that way. We have upper lower, which will uppercase the first letter, lowercase the second letter. Or we have upper, which uppercase is all of them. We also have the option to convert the company field to all caps. And we have an option not to case the name field at all. We'll go ahead and use uppercasing, and we will choose to case the name field. And then we have a couple options for address errors. We have clear existing +4s, which we recommend that you do, because if it's not a valid +4 in there, you don't want the bad data in there. Clear existing carrier routes. It's the same thing with the carrier routes as it is the +4s. You really don't want to have bad information in your database. Delete unresolved DBase records. What this does is it actually doesn't delete the records, it marks them for deletion. After we run this, I'll show you exactly how to remove the records. We'll go ahead and keep this option checked also. And this is the CAS form 3553. This option allows you to print the CAS form without viewing it or anything if you just want to send it to your printer. And we could choose to save these as the default. And let's go ahead and get started. We don't want to download the. Okay, this is what happens when the database is expired. So you want to make sure that you always keep your software up to date. It does get updated monthly, so we'll go ahead and update it right now. And we'll go to. We'll go ahead and update it with the March data. Okay, this should just take a second to do. Copy and replace, and we'll do that. We strongly recommend that as soon as you receive the email to get the update, that you go ahead and install it. That way you don't have to worry about the database ever expiring. Just 2 more files. And while these are copying over, I'll go ahead and run it through Ncoa. And one last file. We'll go ahead and copy over the RBDI file. Okay, now that all the files are copying over, we'll go ahead and run a list through NCOA. We'll go ahead and use that same list that we were using. So to run the list through NCOA, all you have to do is click right here on the Smart Mover Real-Time NCOA link. And then you'll get this little pop-up right here that says listware 200K phone 2000 records. That's our database. And we have a couple different options for NCOA. You could actually just, if you don't have a subscription, you could just choose change of address. Or if you already have a prepaid subscription for it, you could just choose NCOA subscription. So I'll go ahead and choose that since I have a subscription. So go ahead and next. And this already has all my information in it. And here again, we format the fields like we did for address check. And we'll go ahead and click on next. And it doesn't like the fact that we have both full name and first and last name formatted. It wants one or the other for NCOA. So we'll go ahead and just leave full name. And we'll go ahead and submit directly to Melissa Data via the internet. And I won't need a print and copy of mine, but you're always welcome to. And we do recommend that you make a backup copy of your database before starting the update wizard. And you want to make sure that you don't make any changes to the database until the update process is complete. And we go ahead and hit OK. And in a few minutes, we should receive an email that indicates that it's ready to get updated. And let's see if our database is done copying over. Okay, let's see. Yep, it shows now that it has been updated. Okay, since we're going to follow the rules and we're not going to make any changes to this database, we'll go ahead and run this. We'll run this one through address check. We're going to make a change to the structure of this database and put the zip and the +4 in the same field. So we'll go ahead and delete the +4 field and change the length of this to 10. And we'll hit OK on this, and we'll make the changes permanent. And now all we do is format the fields again. Since this ad is preferred the headers in it, we could hit auto format, but since there's so few, I'll go ahead and manually do it. State and zip. And we'll hit OK on this. And let's run it through address check. Oh, there is one thing I want to add is that it's a good idea to add a result code field to your database. That way you know what the errors are. And we'll go ahead and make the length of that 100, even though it won't quite need that many. And we'll go ahead and format that. And result code. And we'll choose address check. And we'll use the same options as we did before. And we'll hit go. And you can see right here, it shows how many days left and everything. It looks like this list is pretty good. It's going by pretty quick since it's a lot of valid addresses. And we can look and see what the bad records are by this error list report. And it looks like it is a S error, which is a suite error. On some errors, it's easy to resolve, but for like suite errors and for range errors, it's almost impossible to correct those in the resolve addresses. So we're not going to try this time. We'll try it on another list that we have. And to say I close it and I want to go back to the results, I could always just go to address check and then results. And here I could print out the CAS form I could split the list, and if this had Canadian addresses in it, I could also view the SERP report, which is the Canadian version of CAS. And also it has a little breakdown on the graph of how many street addresses, how many high rises, firms, PO boxes, and rural routes, and general delivery addresses. We'll go ahead and close this one, and let's see if our Ncoa file is ready. And once you have it open, the file that you sent in for Ncoa, all you do is you go to Services, and you click Update List. And you should get this, welcome back. And it doesn't look like it's quite ready yet. So we'll go ahead and give it a little more time and cover through our duplicate. Okay, well, we wait for the Ncoa file. Let's open up a file for a duplicate check. Okay, this file has about 11,900 records in it. First thing you want to do is you want to format the fields again. So I'll go ahead and just hit auto format on this since it has the headers in there. And then hit OK. And before you duplicate check, it's a good idea to run it through address check. That way, everything is standardized, so it's easier for it to detect duplicates. Okay, let's try that. We'll look at the resolve addresses on this. It looks like this one doesn't have any unknown streets. It's mostly just range and suite errors also. So we'll go ahead and close this. And now, earlier I mentioned how to that it just marks them for deletion when you have that option checked. See right here how you have the little X's? That's how it marks them for deletion. If I actually want to remove those records from my database, I could just go to Database and then Pack, and then I'll pack the deleted records, which removes them completely from the database. And now you can see that there's less records in my database now because I removed those bad records. And let's go ahead and run duplicate check through this list. And we can do it by address only, name and address, last name and address, or if we have a key field like an invoice number or something similar to that, you could choose that. We also have by phone number, name and phone. And we also have some options for the suite. We have ignore, so it doesn't matter. 123 Main Street, apartment 10, and 123 Main Street, apartment 12 would be considered duplicates. Or we have match to blank, which is like 123 Main Street, and 123 Main Street, apartment 10 would still be considered a duplicate. We have match exact, which they would both have to be apartment 10 in order for it to show up as a duplicate. We have the option to keep the lowest record or the highest record, or the most complete record, which is the one that has the most data in it. We could mark the duplicates for deletion like we did with the address check. What it does is it'll put a little check mark in there for the highest record if we have the lowest selected as the one we want to keep, or it'll do the lowest number record if that's the one we want to keep, or the most complete. And we can save these settings as the default. We're going to go ahead and ignore the suites. That way we probably get a few more duplicates that way. And we'll go ahead and hit go on this. Okay, it looks like there was quite a bit of duplicates in this list. Looks like 3,373 with a total duplicate groups of 610. What that means is that out of all the records that are duplicates, there's only 610 unique addresses in there. And we could view the duplicates here. See how right here we have, since we chose to ignore the suites, it decided that all of these apartments are the same, no matter who's in there. So we'll go ahead and exit out of there. And as you can see, it marked them for deletion right here. Or when we go back to the main screen, you'll see more X's and stuff in here. And we could go ahead and pack these records too if we want. Say I decide I don't want to pack them and I want to remove the duplicate I want to remove the X from all the records. What you can do is you can go to database and then recall. And what this does is it'll remove all the marks for deletion. See how there's no more? Okay, let's go ahead and check on our Ncoa file again. And now you can see that it's ready because it has this option right here, Internet HTTP. And here we can pick the casing that we want it. Let's just make it all uppercase. We want standardization on. We want to consider vacant records as an error, suite problems as an error. And I think that should do it. We'll leave the delivery plus options as non-errors. And it just goes ahead and shows you what you formatted already. And then go ahead and hit next. And these are the fields that it will add to the database: address error, delivery point, carrier out, mail score, lax indicator, result code, private mailbox, urbanization for Puerto Rico addresses, the return code, move type, and move date. And we'll go ahead and click on next. And here it's doing the breakdown of all the different moves and everything like that. So we processed 20,000 records and it updated 494. And here it asks if we want to print a detailed report. Since you won't be able to see the print, we will actually skip that. We won't print it right now. Go ahead and click on next. And we go ahead and exit listware. Up our database that we just processed. We can see that the new fields were added. And we can see the different move types in there. So, for example, this one here was a business move. And the move date was in October 2013. The Ncoa goes back up to 48 months. So it's quite a long time to go back, 4 years. And like this one's a family move. This one the accuracy of the individual family and business move is actually, it all depends on what the person, when they fill out the form for the change of address on the post office website or at the post office. Unfortunately, if they fill out the form wrong, they choose family move when it should be an individual move. There's really nothing we can do. We're all on the mercy of the users who put in their move update. Do we have any questions at this time? Looks like we have a couple of questions. The first one was about how long does it take for the Ncoa processing. When you submit the file, it usually is pretty quick, depending on the number of records. And usually I'd say 5 to 10 minutes on average is our turnaround time. Since all of it is automated, it really doesn't take that long. Looks like the next question is also about Ncoa. It asks if any kind of paperwork needs to be filled out in order to run the list through Ncoa. There is a form that the post office requires you to fill out. It's a PAVE form. You can fill that out. You could fill it online on our website. And once that's filled out and submitted, then you'll be able to. They'll be able to set you up to run the listware through Mailers Plus 4 to run Ncoa or any other of the services that we do offer through it. And it looks like we have another question regarding what other services are available through that besides Ncoa. So I'll go ahead and bring that up and show you real quick. So we'll go ahead and let's pull up. I'll pull up a database that has a name it. Oh, here's Canadian addresses. So we can go to Smart Mover again, and it brings up. So we have the change of address, we have phone and fax append, business append, duplicate check. Which if you already have mailers, you probably don't need to run duplicate check. Same with address correction. Residential address append, consumer enhancements, and area code update. For like this file right here, it's Canadian addresses. Well, we also offer, besides the United States, we also offer the Canadian change of address, which updates the business, families, and individuals that have moved in the last 3 years. We get this data directly from Canada Post, and it has about 15 to 18% of the Canadian moves each year. I'll go back to some of the other ones. So there's business append, and you can determine what you wanted to append, and it has the pricing here. Same with like the residential append, and phone and fax append. And it just has a bunch of different options that you could do. Doesn't look like we have any more questions at this time. Once again, thank you for joining us for Mailers 101. Have a great day.